to. Caitlin Clark finally broke her silence and spoke to the media today, and she addressed all of this stuff. One, she didn't pretend like it wasn't a flagrant foul. She called out the refs. She said it should have been a flagrant foul on Alyssa Thomas. Let's not lose sight of that. Okay. Two, she also addressed all of the online hate as she has before. She also called out the media for not paying enough attention to the actual basketball and focusing more on these.
Everybody loves a conspiracy until the replay starts asking uncomfortable questions. Point one controversial whistle can ruin a game. But when an entire season becomes a highlight reel of missed calls, frustrated coaches, furious fans, and viral debates, people stop arguing about basketball and start questioning the system itself. Now, an explosive audio rumor has thrown gasoline on an already raging fire, and suddenly, the WNBA is facing its biggest credibility test of the modern era. The fastest way to make a sports league famous is to give fans something unforgettable. The fastest way to make those same fans suspicious is to make them feel as though the rules change depending on who has the B. That strange contradiction has hovered over the WNBA throughout one of the most successful seasons in its history, turning every controversial whistle into another chapter of a debate that refuses to disappear. Nobody can deny that the league has entered a completely different era. Television ratings have climbed.
How about the flopping? Flopping, big conversation.
Yeah, and it's been a conversation. I would only say that there's a difference between selling a call, exaggeration, and a true flop, which is where you're actually fooling the referees. I think sometimes even as I sit in the stands at games, players may be falling down, players may be reacting to a call, but then me, if they're not fooling the referees, it's like, okay, players are taught to sell calls these days. Can officiating get better? Of course. We're always working on that. Can officials get fooled occasionally? We're always looking at that as well. The officiating is incredible. I will also add one other piece to it, because I know there's always controversy.
Arenas have filled with fans who never followed women's basketball before. Merchandise has flown off the shelves, and conversations that once belonged only to diehard basketball followers now dominate sports talk shows, podcasts, and social media. At the center of almost every discussion stands Caitlin Clark, whose arrival transformed ordinary regular season games into must-watch events. Every arena she visits suddenly looks like it is hosting a playoff matchup, and every possession seems to carry an extra layer of attention. That level of popularity is both a blessing and a burden. Every foul called against Clark becomes a viral clip within minutes. Every hard screen, every collision in transition, every technical foul, and every heated exchange with officials is replayed from half a dozen camera angles before the final buzzer has even sounded. In previous years, many of these moments would have
address what's going on with AT. It's absolutely unacceptable. There's been so much more toxicity, racism, homophobia. It is absolutely unacceptable. Most of this coming from the online community. Most of this, in my heart of hearts, I believe, not coming from WNBA fans. I believe that this is people who are using our league, using our players to further divisive agendas. And if you are one of these people that are online doing this, do not call yourself a WNBA fan. Our league is about inclusiveness. Our league is about
disappeared into the background of a long season. Today, they become national debates before players have even left the locker room. As the season unfolded, a growing number of fans became convinced that something about the officiating simply did not look right. Whether those perceptions accurately reflected every game became almost secondary. The belief itself began spreading, and in modern sports, perception often travels much faster than facts. That frustration eventually exploded across social media, where highlight clips rarely provide the full context of an entire game. A 6-second video showing Clark getting bumped to the floor can generate millions of views, while the previous 10 possessions that were officiated consistently receive almost no attention at all. Algorithms reward outrage, and basketball has become every missed whistle becomes another exhibit in an online courtroom where thousands of fans have already reached a verdict before the replay even finishes loading, adding even more fuel to the fire.
I'm just going to say, you can't say everybody needs to do better and then specifically say league office needs to do better. They named the league about 3 times, and I just don't think it's a league problem. I I think I'm getting so tired of talking about this because it's the same argument over and over. I'm not saying that the league has got it right.
They
but
don't.
At some point, like the players also have to take some sort of change.
Were rumors circulating online that suggested league leadership and officiating were facing serious internal scrutiny. Some social media accounts claimed explosive leaks had exposed corruption, reaching the highest levels of the WNBA. Others insisted referees were secretly protecting certain stars, while targeting others. Those allegations spread rapidly because controversy always attracts attention. But as of now, no credible public evidence has verified the dramatic claims involving organized bribery, commissioner-directed payments to referees, or an investigation of the kind described in many viral posts. Even so, the rumors themselves became part of the story because millions of people were suddenly asking whether they could still trust what they were watching. What supporters struggle to accept is inconsistency. Confidence begins to disappear. Once that confidence fades, every close game invites accusations.
It's the worst marketed league in the history of leagues. They're absolute morons. That's the answer. Nobody has ever come into the league like she has, and it's jealousy, and it's that they don't want her getting a special. She gets nothing. So Sophie's right. Like, she gets treated and attacked and harassed differently than virtually every player. She's had it since she entered the league, and you see her getting abused and no whistle and no.
That something larger is happening behind the scenes, even when ordinary human error may be the simpler explanation. Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White became one of the most visible faces of that growing frustration. Throughout several games, cameras captured her passionately arguing with officials after sequences she believed deserved fouls. Coaches across every professional league regularly challenge referees, but White's reactions resonated because they reflected emotions many Fever fans were already expressing online. Every technical foul she received became another viral moment, reinforcing the belief that Indiana was fighting two opponents every night. The team across the court and the officials holding the whistles. One game in particular intensified those conversations. During Indiana's matchup with Phoenix, viewers pointed to several sequences they believed demonstrated uneven officiating standards. Fever supporters argued that physical.
We'll start here. Caitlin Clark officially wins Eastern Conference Player of the Week. You see it here, 22 points on 46% shooting, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds. Caitlin Clark wins Eastern Conference Player of the Month, and that is all while having a ball hog in Kelsey Mitchell. That is while getting pulled out of the game left and right by Stephanie White, having her minutes cut, all of this stuff. She still wins Eastern Conference.
Contact against players like Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston frequently went unpunished, while similar contact involving Phoenix resulted in free throws. Players such as Alyssa Thomas have built reputations through years of elite production, relentless physicality, and an ability to draw contact inside the paint. Fans who supported Indiana questioned whether experienced veterans naturally received the benefit of the doubt from officials, while younger stars were still it, is a debate that has existed in basketball for decades, long before the current generation arrived. But Clark's unprecedented popularity has placed an enormous spotlight on every possession, making an old conversation feel brand new. As the arguments grew louder, the focus slowly shifted away from individual games and toward something much larger. People were no longer debating only whether one foul should have been called. They were beginning to question whether the league itself had a credibility problem that needed
Indiana problem. And I think that everybody bears responsibility, including Caitlin Clark, in a little bit of this. And I know people are shocked to hear that, but like, everybody's got to be better.
I'm with you. I'm so tired of this, and my look is just kind of like, I'm really disappointed in the entire WNBA in the last couple of years, and I feel like what you're saying is like, even though the office, the league, whatever, the officials, whoever's running it, they are 100%, I think, deserve most of the blame.
To be addressed before the conversation overshadowed the remarkable basketball taking place on the court. The league suddenly found itself walking a difficult tightrope. On one side was the extraordinary momentum it had spent years trying to build. On the other was an increasingly vocal audience that wanted reassurance. The competition was being officiated as fairly as possible. The remarkable irony was that nobody questioned the quality of the athletes themselves. The WNBA has never been deeper with talent. Established superstars continued performing at an elite level while an exciting rookie class injected fresh energy into the sport. Instead of conversations revolving around defensive schemes, offensive adjustments, or remarkable individual performances, the spotlight repeatedly drifted toward whistles, reviews, and officiating decisions. It became increasingly frustrating for players who wanted their basketball to remain the primary.
You'd have quotes from team owners, from players, from the commissioner that was just asinine. They just don't want to accept how important she is. The only reason they are flying private is because of her. The only reason they have a new CBA is because of her. But somehow it's seen as a sign of disrespect to like the players that came before or whatever if you give her
attraction instead of the debates surrounding it. For Caitlin Clark, adapting to the professional game meant far more than learning new offensive systems or adjusting to faster defenders. She entered a league where physical basketball had always been part of the culture. Veteran players had spent years establishing their reputations. Through toughness, relentless defense, and a willingness to challenge every opponent, Clark's popularity did not erase those traditions. If anything, it intensified them. Every team understood that slowing down the league's biggest attraction often required making every possession uncomfortable, and many opponents embraced that challenge with enthusiasm. Some observers viewed those physical battles as nothing more than competitive basketball. One referee might interpret incidental contact differently than another, and fans watching through the lens of their favorite team almost always see the game differently from neutral observers. Still, certain moments proved impossible.
Now, I would have to go back and investigate, is this just her, or is this like stuff that they're missing on a bunch of other players that just isn't being brought to their attention because it's not the notoriety of Caitlin Clark? That could 100% be true. I don't know, right? That would take a lot of analyzing and a lot of basketball to watch. But, you know, I think, unfortunately, with this specific scenario and their ability to go and review when you have someone saying, like, you need to go check that out live during the game, and you're still not doing it.
To ignore, simply because of how often they circulated online, a hard bump during a fast break, an arm across the body while driving to the basket, or a collision underneath the rim would immediately appear on countless timelines accompanied by captions declaring the league had an officiating crisis. Millions of people consumed those clips without seeing the entire game, allowing isolated moments to shape broader opinions about the season itself. Forced to earn that same respect, that growing distrust extended beyond Indiana. Supporters of several franchises began sharing their own compilations of controversial calls, insisting their teams also suffered from inconsistent officiating. What started as a conversation centered on Caitlin Clark gradually evolved into a broader discussion about accountability throughout the league. Fans were no longer asking whether officials occasionally made mistakes. They wanted to know how referees.
We have a problem in Indiana. The Indiana Fever may have just backed themselves into a corner. I've waited a very long time to tell you guys what I learned today. It all comes down to one decision involving Caitlin Clark. For the past year, we watched one of the biggest stars in basketball seemingly operate without full control of the offense. We've seen questionable rotations, questionable offensive schemes, injuries pile up, and constant debates over whether this coaching staff is actually putting Caitlin Clark in the best position to succeed.
Were evaluated, what standards determined assignments, and whether enough transparency existed when controversial games occurred. Professional sports have faced similar questions for generations. Today, every angle is dissected by millions of amateur analysts armed with freeze frames, zoomed-in screenshots, and endless online discussions. The rise of legalized sports betting has only intensified that microscope. Whether discussing basketball, football, baseball, or soccer, the relationship between officiating and gambling has become impossible to ignore. If identical plays produce different whistles, one of their favorite playgrounds.